Some basketball games are won by the guy who keeps collecting everybody else's mistakes. And this is Warrior 46, ANDRIS BIEDRINŠ. The Golden State Warriors came into January 27th, 2008, a Sunday night at 26 and 18. They're sitting in the thick of a Western Conference playoff race that had almost no breathing room. This was the season after We Believe. Golden State had shocked the 67-win Dallas Mavericks in the first round, so the Warriors weren't sneaking up on anybody. Not anymore. They scored fast, played loose, and made Oracle Arena sometimes feel like a nightclub with a scoreboard. They're also walking the wire. Their offense could bury teams, but their defense and rebounding could make a comfortable night turn stupid in a hurry. The Warriors would finish the season leading the NBA at 111 points per game, but they also allowed more points per game than anybody else. Don Nelson's club had won 6 of its previous 8, including a 121-119 track meet against New Jersey 3 nights earlier. Remember New Jersey? We call them Brooklyn now, Brooklyn Nets. Golden State was fighting Utah, Denver, and Houston for the bottom few playoff positions in a conference that looked like everybody seemed like they were capable of winning 50 games. New York arrived, they were 14-28. And they'd actually won 5 of their prior 7, so they weren't playing like a train wreck at the moment. Still, the Knicks were an expensive, uncomfortable roster under Isaiah Thomas, built around Jamal Crawford, Zach Randolph, and Eddie Curry. Well, they could score inside. They could also spend long stretches looking like 5 men trying to solve different problems. Golden State should win this game. But that didn't mean New York was going to make it easy. Andris was born April 2nd, 1986, in Riga, when Latvia was still part of the Soviet Union. When I was in the Navy, I stopped in Riga. Biedriņš was 10 years old at the time. I don't think I met him. But he turned professional at the age of 16 with BK Skonto and quickly looked too mobile, too active, and too productive for his age group. He was already representing Latvia internationally as a teenager. He wasn't what you'd call a polished post scorer. He didn't step onto the court and demand 15 touches. His game was movement. Sprint into the screen, roll hard, get above the rim, contest without quitting, then go find the ball. Golden State chose him 11th overall in the 2004 NBA draft. He was 18. He was the youngest player in the NBA during his rookie season. His first couple seasons were rough. He fouled constantly. His free throws were eventful. He was learning English while trying to survive around grown NBA centers who knew every cheap little veteran trick. Then Don Nelson returned to Golden State in 2006, and Biedriņš suddenly made sense. Nelly wanted speed at every position. Biedriņš could run with Baron Davis and Monte Ellis without dragging the offense in the mud. He didn't need an entry pass and 12 seconds to manufacture a shot. Just put the ball near the rim, and Biedriņš would finish it. Miss the shot, he might clean it up anyway. During his 2006-07 breakout, Biedriņš shot nearly 60% and became a useful starter for the We Believe team. In the playoffs, he held his place inside while Golden State spread Dallas out and turned the top seed season into a public emergency. By this night in January 2008, Biedriņš was still only 21. He was approaching double-double territory without needing plays called for him, and he'd eventually lead the entire NBA that season at 62.6% from the floor. What do you value more in a center? Do you value somebody who can create his own offense, or somebody who makes everybody else's offense function? Biedriņš belonged in the second category. At his best, he was almost invisible until you check the damage. And Golden State entered this game like the better team. They closed the first quarter on a 14-0 run and led 29-20. Biedriņš already had 10 rebounds. 10. The Knicks as a team had 9. And that first quarter gives you the clean version of this story. Biedriņš owned the paint. The Warriors ran, and a bad road team got overwhelmed. The rest of the night was not as cooperative. With Biedriņš resting during much of the second quarter, New York size started bullying Golden State. The Knicks won the quarter 32-18, grabbed 17 rebounds to the Warriors 7, and scored 13 second chance points. Crawford's late arriving layup gave New York a 52-47 halftime lead. And this is where Biedriņš's box score starts feeling less decorative. Golden State wasn't just getting out-rebounded. It was losing control of the game whenever Biedriņš left the floor. The Warriors came out at halftime sluggish and fell behind by 7. They were missing threes, getting punished inside, and flirting with the kind of home loss that looks much worse in April than it did in January. Then Baron Davis produced a sequence that changed the temperature. With Golden State down 69-63, Davis blocked Nate Robinson near the sideline and saved the possession by throwing the ball off Robinson as he fell out of bounds. A few possessions later, Davis finally hit Golden State's first three-pointer of the game. Not the same Golden State we're used to, is it? That completed the 10-2 run and tied it at 71. New York answered and rebuilt a 6-point lead. And at the end of the third, Matt Barnes threw a long inbound pass to Davis. Davis banked in a 40-footer at the buzzer. New York still led 79-76, but Oracle had wakened. Stephen Jackson had been grinding through another ugly shooting night. Early in the fourth, he hit a 3 to give Golden State its first lead of the second half. Then he hit another and another. Jackson scored 16 of his 25 in the fourth quarter, and the Warriors turned a 6-point deficit into an 95-87 lead. The game was moving toward Jackson's hands, but it never left Biedriņš's reach. Biedriņš played 41 minutes and finished with 11 points, 26 rebounds, and 2 helpers. 6 of the boards were offensive, 20 came on defense. He went 4 for 6 from the floor and 3 for 5 at the line. Golden State outscored New York by 14 points when he was on the court. 20 defensive rebounds means 20 possessions that ended because Biedriņš said, "They're over." The Knicks did make one final push. Quentin Richardson cut the lead to 5 with a three-pointer. Davis answered with a falling baseline jumper. Jackson hit 3 late free throws, and Nate Robinson's 3 with 1.5 seconds left made it 106-104. Golden State inbounded to Davis. New York couldn't foul him in time, and the Warriors escaped. Would you call that a satisfying win? Or the kind of win that mostly makes you relieved that nobody has to explain a loss? After the game, Nelson called Biedriņš unbelievable and credited those traffic rebounds with turning a game that could easily have turned into a loss. Jackson called him a monster. Al Harrington said Biedriņš was making everybody else look bad on the stat sheet because there weren't any other rebounds to collect. The timing mattered too. Before the game, most of the conversation around Golden State involved a possible reunion with Chris Webber. Nelson wanted another big man because he didn't believe the Warriors had enough rebounding to survive the West. Biedriņš admitted that he took that concern a little personally. Rebounding, defending, and blocking shots were his job. Then he grabbed 26. It was the highest rebound total by any NBA player that season at the time. It was also the most by a Warrior since Larry Smith collected 31 against Denver on March 28, 1981. Here's the strange little human part. Biedriņš wasn't born until 5 years after Smith's game. A franchise can go more than a quarter century waiting for a performance, then hand it to a 21-year-old who still looks like he's growing into his shoulders. There's a type of sports greatness that resembles custodial work. The glamorous moment belongs to the person who makes the shot. The rebounder shows up because somebody failed. He reads the glass, takes contact, gathers the loose object, and quietly restores order. 26 times, Biedriņš cleaned up that room. And I think that's why a game like this can create a basketball fan. It teaches you that the sport isn't only a contest between shot makers. Sometimes the most important player is the one who keeps arriving after the obvious part of the play's finished. So who's your favorite athlete whose best skill was doing the work that nobody puts on the poster? Golden State, they improved to 27-18 and reached a season high, 9 games over 500. They kept winning too. They finished 48-34, 6 victories better than the We Believe regular season, and they missed the playoffs. Every Western Conference playoff team won at least 50 games. Golden State finished 9th, 2 games behind Denver, while a 37-win Atlanta team reached the postseason in the East. Doesn't feel very fair, does it? 48 wins should buy you something more substantial than a long summer. Biedriņš finished the season at 10.5 points, 9.8 rebounds per game, while leading the NBA in field goal percentage. Golden State rewarded him in July with a 6-year contract guaranteeing $54 million, with incentives that could push the total above $60 million. The Knicks went the other way. They finished 23-59, tying the franchise record for losses. Thomas was removed as team president and fired as head coach after the season. For New York, this close loss wasn't proof that things were getting better. It was one of the last convincing disguises worn by a terrible year. Biedriņš's best full season came immediately after signing that contract. In 2008-09, he averaged 11.9 points, 11.2 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks. He was still only 22 and appeared to be settling in as Golden State's long-term center. Then his career bent sharply. Back trouble and groin problems cost him time. His free throw shooting collapsed worse, and the problem seemed to spread into his willingness to attack. A player who once lived around the rim began looking uncomfortable with the possibility of being fouled. His role shrank under multiple coaches. By 2012-13, he averaged half a point in 9 minutes per game. In 2013, Golden State sent Biedriņš, Richard Jefferson, and Brandon Rush to Utah as part of a cap-clearing deal that allowed the Warriors to acquire Andre Iguodala. Biedriņš played 6 games for the Jazz. Utah waived him in April 2014, ending his NBA career before he turned 28. He finished with 3,247 points, 3,631 rebounds, and 580 blocks. And that final decline can distort the memory. The contract became a punchline, the free throws became painful, and eventually the Warriors became something much bigger than the team he joined. But there was a real player here. For a few seasons, Biedriņš was one of the NBA's most efficient finishers, one of its better young rebounders, and exactly the kind of center that Nelly Ball needed. On January 27, 2008, nobody in the league had owned the glass like he did. Next up, we leave 26 rebounds in Oakland and pick up 24 consecutive curveballs in Houston. All right, I'm back. Astro 71, Astro 71 right here is Lance McCullers Jr. October 21st, 2017, Game 7 of the NLCS. Did I say NLCS? Game 7 of the ALCS. 4 scoreless relief innings against the Yankees, and the strangest closing argument you'll ever see from a pitcher who decided one pitch was enough. Warrior 46 belonged to ANDRIS BIEDRINŠ. 11 points, 26 rebounds, and one ugly win the Warriors really needed. The Stars supplied the late shots. BIEDRINŠ made sure the Knicks didn't get to keep shooting. I'm the Wolf. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll see you next time.